everyone, welcome back to Play Hooky with me. My name is Roz. This is part 2 of a series that I'm working on regarding how to do the corner to corner join as you go technique. This is a lot of fun and pretty easy once you get the hang of it. It's a little tricky at first, but I think you're going to enjoy it a lot. It's another one of these things that looks really hard, but then isn't, and it just makes such a cool effect. I'm working on a project that has a gingham style pattern, so I'll share a little bit more about that as we continue. The previous video was all about the building of your first square or block, and the reason I did that was because it's slightly different from what you may be used to if you've done corner to corner before. Instead of slip stitching across when you decrease, for these we were chaining 3, and that's because we need these little spaces here to join as we go. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started here on part 2 on how to actually design and lay this out so that you can get a very accurate spacing where everything is going. The pattern is continuing even as you join. To get started, like I was mentioning in the previous video, I highly recommend that you start with a stitch marker in the very first corner of your first block on your first square so that you can always remember where you began, because once we start moving our piece from back and forth, it is going to get confusing and it's very easy to lose track of where you're working. The other tip with this is that when you are building, you really want to work one row at a time. And so this is my first initial row and I'm working from right to left. And so I have one more left on my first row. So I'm going to show how these are attached. And then after that, we will move up and then you can see how to attach again from this angle. And then of course, when we're dealing with corners. So it should be pretty clear by the end when we're finished on how to join this, and you should be good to go. A big tip that I would like to share is that it is best to work in even numbers when you decide how big you want your square to be. Mine is a 4 by 4. I tried 5 by 5 before this and it just didn't work because I was really focused. I wanted to make sure that my verticals and horizontal tiles were staying in alignment all the way through. When I was doing it with an odd number, and they were all coming out the same. They were finishing with a horizontal and beginning with a horizontal. And that may not bother you, but it was bothering me. I didn't like the look of that. I wanted it to be very smooth, a smooth transition from each block. So yeah, so that I would definitely recommend that you stick with evens. Okay, so it's time to fasten on in the way that you like best. Go ahead and chain up to your preference. Mine is 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm doing my first 3 double crochets into the first 3 chain spaces. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and now we have our first row and first tile, and now we flip everything around and we are going to attach to the previous square. Now you have 2 options here. You can either go into the space here and attach with the slip stitch, or you can go into the little space in here. It's a little tight, it's a tight squeeze, but I do prefer it. It's a much neater join in my opinion, but really do whatever you prefer. Both work just fine. And now we have row 1 completed. Now this is where it gets a little bit different again. Instead of starting with your chain 5 or 6, now we're going to build a foundation to build our next tile. And so chain 3. We're sort of backtracking here to do this. Now we're going to again attach in this space or this space, whichever you prefer, with a slip stitch, chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Turn your work around again. And now we are building the row 2 tile. So we need to do 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Slip stitch into the block next to it. Now things go back to normal. We chain up 3, make 3 double crochets, okay, and we are completing our second round, or second row I should say, and that is row 2. So here we are getting ready to do row 3. So we do our chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3 double crochets starting from the 4th from the hook, or if you were counting from the base, it was 3, 1, 2, 3, and we have our happy little feet, and we need to flip our work around to attach, like so, and we are going to attach with a slip stitch, and that was the beginning of row 3. So we chain 3 now, 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, attach with a slip stitch, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, 3 double crochets, 2, 3. Okay, and now we attach, and you can go in this space or this space. Okay, and here we go again. We want to start row 4, but first we have to give ourselves a foundation chain and work backwards. So we're going to attach a slip stitch here. Okay, chain up 3, 1, 2, 3, flip back over. Can you see now why I keep saying we need these guides here, like the tails and the stitch marker? Okay, 2 more double crochets, and here we go. Great, and now we are ready to continue on with row 4, and I will meet you at the top. Okay, so we have finished our row 4, and it's at this point now that it's time to decrease, and we just chain 3, turn our work. Remember, we are doing this instead of slip stitching, and we do slip stitch to start our next block, and then we would resume our chaining up 3, building our next tile, connecting and going all the way back down. So I'm going to stop here, and if you want a refresher on this, please check out part 1 on these videos on the join as you go method, and then you can see how we went about decreasing this. But otherwise, I'm going to finish this off camera, and we will resume with working on the next row and how to join those. Okay, wonderful. So we've just learned how to join our squares in row 1, and now we're going to move on to how to join on row 2 when you're attaching to the bottom square. And this is an existing project that I'm working on, so for me, I need to start with white. Now what we do is we start in this corner, the very far corner. Go ahead and fasten on how you prefer. And we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now at this point you would think it would be okay to just go ahead and build your first tile with double crochets here because you're in the right alignment. You would be going vertical, but actually you would end up in the wrong corner to continue on. So what we need to do instead is just slip stitch and backtrack. So we are going to slip stitch either in this space or the little space above it. Chain up 3, turn your work, and now backtrack with your 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and so you have your first tile completed, and now to start row 2 you can continue on as normal here with a chain up of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. One, 2, and 3. Okay, turn your work again. And now join as you normally would with a slip stitch. Chain 3, 2, 3. You're going to build your next tile or block. 1, 2, and 3. And we just join with a slip stitch here or here. Okay, and you have just completed row 2. So now we are doing the backtracking. So we chain 3, slip stitch, chain up 3, 1, 2, 3, turn our work, build our tile. 1, 2, and 3. And we continue on as normal with building row 3. Row 3 is completed and we continue. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We are building row 4 now. And as I keep mentioning, I am using the classic method of chaining up 6 with a chain 3 for my turning chains. But if you haven't seen my video on how to do the other varieties of this method, I would recommend that you check that out because you may prefer the modern style of chain 5 and chain 2. I'm getting chatty and forgetting what I'm doing here. Okay, or even the half double crochet method might be more up your alley depending on what project you're working on. I work very small. I'm using a very fine yarn here and a small hook, so I do prefer the classic method. Alrighty, so we're back to where we need to join, and we just join with a slip stitch into this space or into this little space. Okay, so we're finished with row 4 and we are ready now to start decreasing. And what do? We just chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Turn our work and slip stitch. And now we just resume as always, moving back and forth. Okay, and since we've already done our 4 rows here, I'm just chaining 3 to continue reducing or decreasing. And I think you get the idea, so I'm going to go ahead and finish this off camera and see you at the end. We have just attached our new square. We've joined onto the bottom row, and now we are going to move on to learning how to do 2 sides. So we are going to join right here in the corner where we've joined everything else. And let's just go ahead and do that now. Join however you like. I'm just doing a very loose join here because I don't want a lot of knots. I would prefer to just weave this in later. Okay, and at this point what we're going to do is chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to slip stitch into the space here or here, whichever you prefer. And slip stitch. And now we chain up 3. Turn our work, and build our first tile or block. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and now you can see we've done our first tile. You can tighten that up, and what we're going to do now is join to the side of the other square. And as always, you can go in this space here or into the little gap right above it. And you have just joined your first tile. Great, so we have our first tile in place, and now we're just going to repeat the process. We're going to build a foundation here of 3 chains and backtrack with our tile. And this is the beginning of row 2. 1, 2, 3. Slip stitch into the space here or right here. You get the idea. I think you know what's going on here now. 1, 2, 3. We're going to turn our work, build our tile. 1, 2, 3. Attach to the tile next to it with a slip stitch, chain 3, 2, 3, and build your second tile for row 2. 1, 2, 3. And we attach to the block or square next to it There you go, and you've just completed row 2. And this is what we're going to keep doing. We're going to chain 3, attach, build our block to work our way back and forth. Chain 3, 3, join into either space, slip stitch, chain 3, turn your work, build your block, join with a slip stitch to the block next to it, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, join your work, 1, 2, 3. We're finishing up the final tile for this row. And so we are going to join here or here. With a slip stitch. Row 3 is completed. So what do we do now? That's right, chain 3 and find a good spot to attach our little foundation here. I'm going to go right into this space here. There we go, great. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, turn our work, create our block, 1, 2, 3, join to the block next to it with a slip stitch, and we just move our way up, repeating the process. Okay, so we are done with row 4 and it's time to join and attach. Now it looks like I joined here in this gap and I don't want to join like that. It would work, it's totally fine, but I want to get in deeper in there to make a really tight join. So I'm going to go right in there under. I kind of made this a little bit awkward for myself, but that's okay. There we go. And there. I feel a lot more comfortable with joining in there. I feel like that's a very secure join. And at this point, we are finished with row 4, so no more increasing. It's time to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Turn our work again. Slip stitch into the top and continue building and closing in our square. I think I've done that enough. I think you get the idea of that. This was the main area that we needed to focus on. Otherwise, I think you're good to go. If you need a refresher, I do have a link in the description box to take you to part 1 where we focus just on how to make this initial block with the chain 3 decrease. There you go. There is the corner to corner join as you go technique. It's a lot of fun. I really love it, and I love the whole look of this. And if you look, you can see everything is looking very consistent. Even here in the corners, we have the vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal. It all matches up perfectly. And remember, to get it to work like that, just stick to even numbered blocks. Okay, so for mine it's a 4 by 4 and so on. Just make sure it's even and you will get this nice even vertical and horizontal happening. As always, thank you so much for watching and playing hooky with me. I do hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and please hit the like and subscribe button or the bell to be notified when I publish my next video. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.